Hello everybody, it's Handyman Landlord, and in today's episode I would like to talk about my experience of how I started investing in real estate. As I stated in a previous video, we purchased, me and my wife, our primary house, and the price was $64,000 back then in 2017, I believe. And we put the 20% down, and then the rest was a mortgage, which it was around $430 every month. Because we could afford, we paid double that towards the principal. So that had a consequence of paying the loan in 7.5 years instead of 15 years. But we started investing way earlier than that. First, you have to have a job, obviously, and then you have to have like an income, so you can make at least to save, let's put it that way, at least a good down payment for your next investment. So that's what we did. We we have saved back then $10,000, not a lot of money, and then we needed to purchase a house which we found for $26,500. We did not have that money, so we applied for a loan, for a mortgage, and the bank, because the house was so crappy, said no, we cannot do that. The previous owner, the seller, had to fix it according to the bank, and then the seller obviously didn't want to fix. So that left us with no choice. I was so disappointed. So my wife gave me an idea to ask her uncle if he's willing to help to lend us some money, so we can actually have, without a bank, the money to put towards the house to buy it. So that's what we did. We asked him and he offered to give us some money, and obviously we were paying him monthly an agreement, and then we combined our money with his money, and then also I had extra from his money to fix it up. It's very important, the way I started, that I knew how to fix things. I was in maintenance, I was into construction because I was working for that company, as I previously stated, and then I knew pretty much how to do things, how to renovate a house. So if you have that talent, if you have that skill, then the roads are way easier for you, my friend. Because you don't have to hire somebody to paint the house. You don't have to hire somebody to install flooring. You don't have to hire somebody to install doors or to cut an opening or do all kinds of things. Yard work, roofing, framing, you name it. The more you know, the better it is for you, because you're gonna save tons of money. Now, some stuff you cannot do. Obviously, you have to subcontract to somebody else. But if you have that skill, it's wonderful. And I had that skill. So what happened? We got the house $26,500, and then I roughly put $5,500 just the materials. And when I had free time, I was just going there and I was working myself. And I remember how long it took me, 4 or 5 months. The house was ready to rent. $26,500 plus $5,500 for the material, and then that gave a value of the house later on when it was rented out around $110,000, if I remember well, back then. And then I was able to go to the bank and refinance the property. So you go to the bank and you say, I have a tenant there, I want to refinance that property, has no mortgage, it's free and clear. And then the bank is giving you a 75% loan to value, LTV. So you extract 75% of the value of the house that you actually gave. In that scenario, the bank gave me $75,000, and out of the blue now, I have money to pay the uncle. I have a free and clean house, and I have $75,000. My mortgage was $300. The interest rates back then was 3.5, I think. The mortgage was $300, and the rent was $750 back then. Now rents are higher. And guess what? I have $75,000 now to reinvest. So what I was looking for another property, and I found another property that I bought for $27,500 this time in a different area. and I purchased it with that money, cash, no loan on that property. And I did the same thing again. And then you fix it up and you rent it out. And then if you want, you refinance it to move to another property, if the numbers make sense, obviously. Now, a lot of people will say, well, you must have bought the houses in a hood. And what I would say to those people is that I don't buy necessarily my houses in the hood, but my houses are not in the A class area. My houses are in B, lower B class, and higher C class, because that's where the opportunity is, right? Because I cannot compete back then with rich investors. I didn't have the money. So what should I do? Just stop and say, well, that's not for me? Obviously, I didn't do that. So instead, I said, okay, let me find a decent area, and then I know how I'm going to be able to make that house look like. I check the comps around the area and see how much money I can make throughout the rent. I check the population and see if there's a declining population, which if there's in an area, there's a declining population, that indicates that it's not a very good area to invest. If there's a slight incline, that's okay. Yes, you can invest, because that means that that area is growing further and further. So that's what I did. Also, you can check the crime. If that area that you're willing to buy a house, what's the crime there? Is it a high crime? Do we have bad people around, child molesters? There's an app, and on the internet you can check all of those things, so you know actually where you're buying. Is it close to your house, which is very good? It's ideal. Is it 15 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour from your house or from your job, so you can be able to work there? That's wonderful. That means, you need 30 minutes or an hour to go and work for the house whenever you have time, and eventually you'll fix it. That's how I made money. I didn't hire people. I didn't do all of these things, because if I did that, yes, if I do the math right, I can make a small margin back, but I don't work for small margin. I work for 50% return on my money and ROI or more. And that's what I did. I used my own hands. Now, eventually, when you grow and you buy your third, your fourth, your fifth house, and so forth and so on, yes, you will be able to hire a worker, maybe. In my scenario, I used the worker that I was working on the company with my boss, now partner, on Saturdays, and I was saying, I can pay you. Can you work those hours for me? And then we'll work together. So that expedited a little bit the things. And then the rest, I said that you don't know or you don't have the time, you just subcontract. So don't necessarily deny investing in B areas or class areas. And another secret that I would like to share, or a thought, or a view, take it however you want, is that if there's a crash in the market, or if the inflation goes rampant, or if something bad happens in the economy, what do you think will happen? The A-class people will have to move lower to a B-class people. B-class people, they'll have to move lower to a C-class people. And you know who's going to benefit? You're going to benefit, because you have a B and C-class property. That does not mean that you have to invest if you can in those properties, but if you don't have the money to do that, yes, do it. And that's how I made my money. And then if you eventually think that now you make a lot of money and you don't prefer B and C class properties, you can actually 1031 exchange those properties. You can sell those properties and buy in A class area that need less maintenance and so forth and so on. There are so many things you can do. Another strategy that I used, because sometimes you have to wait 6 months for the bank to actually give you the loan. You need to have a tenant, you have to have a decent credit score, which credit score is an important factor in the United States. Another strategy that I used, and that's the home equity line of credit, HELOC, in other words. After quite some time, even though I had mortgage on my house, because I fixed the house up, yes, I bought it for $64,000, but because I put value in the house, new windows, new doors, new roof, new floors, new paint, I remodeled it different, and all these extensions that I did, and so forth and so on. Now that means the house it's not worth 64,000. Now the house worth way more. 300,000 or 200, it depends on the market. Even though if it's worth a little more, that gives you an equity. That equity, as we know, we can take advantage of. So that's when you go to the bank and you ask for a HELOC, which the bank actually estimates the property of your house, takes out the mortgage that you owe, and let's say that you owe 50,000. The value of the house is, let's say, 150,000. So you have 70,000 equity. You can use that equity with that loan, and then you can use as much amount as you want. Just because you have 70,000 doesn't mean that you have to take all the 70,000. You can just take 30,000, 35,000, and that's what I did. I bought houses for very good price, for 30,000, for 35,000, for 40,000, and a lot of times I use the HELOC strategy, and that's how it works. You take the money, you pay the house cash, and then you fix it up, you refinance it, and then once you take the money from the bank, then you put it towards the HELOC, because you might be afraid to say, I don't want to lose my primary house. So yes, of course, once you refinance the house that you purchased, the rental in other words, then the extra money you put it back into your HELOC, and now your HELOC is zero. So you can extract more if you want to, if your wife lets you, if you're comfortable with it. And then you can repeat over and over the cycle. Obviously, you have to find a bank that can give you more than 4 loans, which I found, because after 4 loans, most banks actually don't loan you money. Ideally, you need, actually, I wouldn't say ideally, I would say mandatory, you need 30-year fixed rate mortgage, not flat, variable, 100%, don't do that. Because in that scenario, you know for sure how much money you have to pay in the span of 30 years. And then you know that your investment is going to actually give you what you want and why you did it in the first place. So these are a few of the strategies that I used personally. And then later on, I used other strategies, but these are the main ones. And my advantage is because I did the work myself. So if you're a handyman, if you're an electrician, if you're a plumber, if you are a maintenance guy, or if you're working for construction, or anything like that, you have value and skill, my friends. You can do that, and you can move from working for somebody else to start working for yourself. And also you can maintain at the beginning, the job that you have, and on your extra time, put an extra effort to build your foundation. Once you build your foundation, then you'll be able to actually scale and do the life that you want. That's all I had to share for right now. I appreciate you watching me. If you find this video valuable, please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Shoot me up with any questions or comments, anything that you have. See you guys on the next one. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.